We had border numbers down 90% in 3 weeks. Think what this president's going to do in the next 4 to 6 months. I mean, I agree with the president's policies on this. I think he's a game changer. I think for the once in the history of this nation, we'll finally have operational control of the southern border because we got a president sitting in the Oval Office who's going to make sure we do that. No, there's no plans to separate families. Matter of fact, I've noticed recently there's news articles saying Tom Homan suggesting family detention again, family residential centers, and I am. Family residential centers are the opposite of family separation. Why are we even talking about family residential centers? Because this administration, President Trump, wants to make sure these children aren't victims of trafficking. He wants to make sure this family is really a family. This is about saving children, protecting children. Let's talk about DNA testing, getting back to enforce the law and at the same time protecting children, which the last administration didn't do.
Sir, how much money will the president ask Congress today for immigration? How much money will the president ask Congress today for immigration?
I'm not aware of that number. All I know, we need the money to continue doing what we're doing. We need money for more beds. We need money for more flights. We need money to keep concentrating on the worst of the worst. ICE is already in the hole. And we need Congress to step up, give us the funding we need so President Trump can keep his promise to the American people. President Trump, look, border numbers are down 97%. That's the most secure border we ever had because of this president's bold actions, right? He was a game changer. ICE arrests, I looked this morning, they're just below 30,000. More than twice as many as Biden did in his administration. We're hitting on all cylinders, but we need more money to do more. And that's what we're going to do. We're going to keep President Trump's promise to address the worst of the worst criminals in this country. I'll say it once again. If you're in the country legally, you're not off the table. So sanctuary cities want to keep locking us out of jails. They force us into the neighborhood to find the bad guy. When we find the bad guy, many times they're with others. Others who aren't a criminal priority but are in the country legally, they're coming too. Because ICE is going to enforce the law. We're not going to turn our back on someone illegally in the United States. ICE is going to enforce the laws enacted by the members of Congress and signed by the President.
Sir, the tariffs, last question, the tariffs imposed by the U.S. on Mexico and Canada, the tariffs that the U.S. is imposing today, how confident are you that those tariffs will reduce the flow of illegal narcotics and the flow of illegal immigration into the U.S.?
I'm very confident in the President's plan. I think the President's doing exactly what he should be doing. Again, look at the success he's had. We had border numbers down 90% in 3 weeks. Think what this President's going to do in the next 4 to 6 months. I mean, I agree with the President's policies on this. I think he's a game changer. I think for the once in the history of this nation, we'll finally have operational control of the southern border because we got a president sitting in the Oval Office who's going to make sure we do that.
Earlier than the reciprocal, which is going to be on a couple of weeks earlier. Reciprocal tariffs start on April 2nd. And I wanted to make it April 1st, but I didn't want to go April Fool's Day because that costs a lot of money, but that one day, so we're going April 2nd. But very importantly, tomorrow tariffs 25% on Canada and 25% on Mexico, and that'll start. So they're going to have a tariff. So what they have to do is build their car plants, frankly, and other things in the United States, in which case they have no tariffs. In other words, you build, and this is exactly what Mr. Wei is doing, by building here. Otherwise, they'll build, if they did them in Taiwan to send them here, they'll have 25% or 30% or 50% or whatever the number may be someday. It'll go only up. But by doing it here, he has no tariff, so he's way ahead of the game. And I would just say this to people in Canada or Mexico, if they're going to build car plants, the people that are doing them are much better off building here because we have the market. We're the market where they sell the most. And so I think it's going to be very exciting for the automobile companies, very exciting for, I can think of any, as an example, North Carolina, they had the great, I used to go there to buy furniture for hotels, and it's been wiped out. That business all went to other countries. And now it's all going to come back into North Carolina, the furniture manufacturing business, please.
On the tariffs, is there any room left for Canada and Mexico to make a deal before midnight? And should we expect those Chinese tariffs, the extra 10%, to take effect?
No room left for Mexico or for Canada. No, the tariffs, they're all set. They go into effect tomorrow.
Mr. President, just to follow up on my colleague's question.
And just so you understand, vast amounts of fentanyl have poured into our country from Mexico. And as you know, also from China, where it goes to Mexico and goes to Canada. And China also had an additional 10, so it's 10 plus 10. And it comes in from Canada and it comes in from Mexico. And that's a very important thing to say. Yep.
You met with Argentine President Javier Milei at CPAC. He wants to sign a free trade agreement with the United States. Is that something that you would consider even with Argentina?
I'll consider anything. And Argentina, I think he's great, by the way. I think he's a great leader. He's doing a great job. He's doing a fantastic job. Brought it back from oblivion. Yeah, we'll look at things. We're looking at the UK with things. It doesn't have to be tariffs, but tariffs are easy, they're fast, they're efficient, and they bring fairness. For instance, when people kill their dollar, their equivalent of the dollar, whether it's the yuan or the yen in Japan or the yuan in China, when they drop them down, that puts us at a very unfair disadvantage. So all I have to do is say, Howard, we're going to have to raise the tariffs a little bit, because I've called President Xi, I've called the leaders of Japan to say you can't continue to reduce and break down your currency. You can't do it because it's unfair to us. It's very hard for us to make tractors, Caterpillar, here when Japan, China, and other places are killing their currency, meaning driving it down. So all of these things add up. And the way you solve it very easily is with tariffs, because when they do that, instead of having to make phone calls every day like I used to do with certain leaders, President Xi a little bit, a lot of phone calls, talking about the fact that they're lowering their yuan, they're lowering it down, and that makes it very, very hard for us. So this way I just say, look, let them do that, and we make up for it with the tariffs. But
will you be speaking with Mexican President Claudia Sheinbaum about
yeah, sure, I will. I have a lot of respect for her.
Mr. President, this 10 tariff takes effect. It'll be 20% on China now. How high are you willing to go against China?
Well, I can't say. It depends on what they do with their currency. It depends on what they do in terms of a retaliation, with some kind of an economic retaliation, which I don't think they're going to retaliate too much. Hey, look, the United States has been taken advantage of for 40 years. The United States has been a laughingstock for years and years. That's why this gentleman is built in Taiwan instead of building here. It would have been better if he built here. If we had a president that knew what they were doing, and we had a lot of them very bad on trade. Look, I'm a huge fan of Ronald Reagan, but he was bad on trade, very bad on trade. He allowed a lot of people, a lot of businesses to be taken. So I say that with due respect, because he was so great on other things, but he was bad on trade. We are setting records right now, records like nobody has ever seen before. When you have companies like this coming in, and almost 40% of their company in one signature is going to be devoted to what he does, which is one of the most important businesses in the world. That's an unbelievable thing. When Apple now is going to start building all of their plants here, all because of what we've done in terms of, it's not because he likes me or they like me. They don't probably like me at all. I don't know. I think he likes me a little bit at least. But you know what? It's the incentive we created, or the negative incentive. I mean, it's going to be very costly for people to take advantage of this country. They can't come in and steal our money and steal our jobs and take our factories and take our businesses and expect not to be punished. And they're being punished by tariffs. It's a very powerful weapon that politicians haven't used because they were either dishonest, stupid, or paid off in some other form. And now we're using them.
Have you spoken with President Xi?
Say it.
Have you spoken with President Xi about this?